My sister-in-law is planning a wedding at my house, and I'm not invited. But on her wedding day, the princess is shocked to see that I changed the locks and there won't be a wedding. I'm 34 years old, and I've been following this sub for a long time. Lately, there's something going on in my life that I needed an opinion on. I've read a lot of posts about sister-in-laws to see if anyone else has been through my situation and how they've handled it. Well, I guess my situation is unique and I would need some advice on it. It concerns my sister-in-law. That's the reason why I can't discuss this with my husband. You know the family intricacies. So, here's the thing. My 27-year-old sister-in-law is planning a wedding for spring. She wants to host it at my house. Yeah, that's right, not to brag, but I have a 4-bedroom house with a swimming pool and a big garden. She's engaged to an Irish guy, so her family and relatives would need a place to stay when they come for the wedding. We have a pretty spacious living room and a big garden outside. She's planning on having an alfresco wedding in the garden, followed by dinner in the living room. That's how she wants, which is now the obvious question is, am I okay with this? Well, I don't know. That's why I'm here looking for advice. Let me give you some context. I have been married to my husband for 8 years. We met in college and dated for 4 or 6 years before getting married. He doesn't come from a wealthy family, but he is a hardworking and self-educated man. My father-in-law worked as a daily wage laborer, and my mother-in-law did odd jobs. My husband has a younger sister who has been living with my in-laws. Keep in mind, she is 27 and is not yet working. They not only provide her with food and shelter, but also cater to her extravagant demands. And when I say extravagant, I mean beyond her means. Unlike my husband, who completed his master's, my sister-in-law is a college dropout. Her parents didn't even insist that she finish college because she didn't need to be told anything. She's inspired by this new age influencer who says a degree doesn't make you rich or successful. I find it strange because I was raised in a completely opposite way. Even though my parents are quite wealthy, they never gave us privileges. Yes, we were sent to a private school, call it luxury or whatever you want, but beyond that, my parents did nothing for my career. When my brother and I were in high school, Dad told us to earn a scholarship or take out student loans. He wasn't going to pay for our college. We used to hate him and thought our dad was cheap. We studied hard and got scholarships. Now that I'm older, I realize the wisdom of his parenting. It made us self-sufficient, especially after seeing my sister-in-law. I'm convinced how important a parent's role is in a person's life. When I got my first job, right after college, I went crazy partying during the holidays. But Dad sat me down and showed me some nice properties. I was happy that I was finally letting go some money from his sticky hands, but that wasn't the case. He wanted me to buy the house myself. He paid the down payment. He explained the importance of owning my own home. The sooner the better. He advised me to rent half of it out to get help on the mortgage. I own this house today, which makes me happy. Seeing the housing prices now, I think she can't afford to rent a venue. And if not my house, she'd have to settle for a town hall wedding. She doesn't make any money, and my in-laws don't have a fortune to spend on her wedding. My husband doesn't want to say in the matter because it's my house, and he wants me to make the decision, regardless of what he thinks. He's my man, and that's why I love him so much. So my problem comes down to this. Do you think I should allow him to use my house as his wedding venue? Update 1. The day after tomorrow is the wedding, and today I found out that I'm not invited. The funny part is that the wedding is at my house. Let me start from where I left off last time. Yes, I did agree to let him use my house for the wedding. I was definitely worried about it, but eventually I came around. Now I regret my decision. I'm furious, so please excuse me if I just vent out everything I feel. My sister-in-law is nothing more than a woman who uses men for money in exchange for you know what. She's not even that pretty. And don't get me started on her lack of intelligence, but, once the lights go out, most men don't care about all that. She may be good at what she offers, that's why she was able to hit the nail on the head. That's what calls her fiancé, the nail on the head. She's not only shallow, but a liar. I found out that her Irish fiancé is quite well off financially. He works as a banker, and even his family is wealthy. So, to impress them, I lied to them, saying that my house was theirs. I've known about this lie for a while now, but I didn't care because at the end of the day, it wouldn't affect me at all. When her fiancé proposed to her, she came to me and almost begged me to let her use my house for the wedding. As if this wasn't enough, my in-laws came to me pleading, too. They said if I don't agree to this, they might have to take out a loan to finance their wedding. I said, why can't you finance it? Her and her fiancé. My in-laws said traditionally it's the bride's parents who pay for the wedding, and the Irish follow this tradition more than we do. I don't know how true this is, so please don't judge me on it. These are not my words. Also, my sister-in-law has she has bragged to her fiancé and father-in-law about her huge house that can host a wedding. Her stupidity made me laugh. I said, what if I don't have the wedding at my house? I mean, I can, right? You think she should have asked me first before committing this to her fiancé? My in-laws nodded and asked me to safeguard her reputation. I told them I would, but they should have done a better job raising their daughter. You see, I don't sugarcoat my words, and maybe that's why they think I'm arrogant. They don't understand that I'm saying this for her own good. You know what happened next? They came to my house until I agreed to this. At one point I was like, it's a matter of 2 days, let's get this over with. And yes, some people asked me in the last post if she offered to pay rent. No. This all happened 3 months ago when I made the original post. Fast forward to 2 days ago, my sister-in-law arrived with my in-laws and 2 other men. I was at work. I saw this on the camera installed inside. They have a motion sensor. I called her and asked, what's wrong? She said those guys were wedding designers. They were here for a site visit and planned the wedding accordingly. I asked her to take care of my things. She assured me she would. After paying off my mortgage last year, I got rid of the tenants occupying my 2 upstairs rooms. I took a leave from work to prepare 2 rooms for them. I hired a cleaner to do the task. It's a huge house to clean everything myself. Today, my sister-in-law showed up at 6 in the morning while we were still sleeping. She was leaving for her bridal shower in the next town. I was here to see if everything had been prepared properly. She was pleased to see I had prepared 2 rooms for them and rented a bigger dining table for dinner tonight. Then she goes around the house saying, okay, those 2 rooms are ready for my in-laws. Mom and Dad will take your room, and I'll take the room with the walk-in closet. Wow, I'm so excited to show them my big house with all this fancy stuff. I can't wait to see their amazed expressions. When I gave the house to them, I was confused. I mean, where do we fit in? The rest of the conversation went like this. Sorry, I'm confused. If your parents occupy our room, where do we go? She replied, well, you don't know. You can go to your parents' house or maybe check into a hotel for 2 days. You both earn well. I'm sure you can afford it. To which I replied, but why? Do we have that we should move out of our own house? And with a mocking tone, he said, because to them, it's my parents' house, remember? And you guys can't live here. It would be so weird for a married brother and his wife to live with my parents. I felt dizzy after that conversation. Like, what the hell? So you are going to pretend this is your parents' house and you live here like a princess? I was already angry enough. I put on a serious face and asked then, according to your fairy tale, where do we live, in case your in-laws ask us? Oh, they won't. I mean, how would they? You won't be present here, right? And what about our things, our photographs? Who would know that they're your things? I'll tell them it's all mine. The only problem is the pictures of your hallway. We'll have to take them down before they arrive. I sighed and asked then, even if you vacate the house to keep up your facade, we would still see you at your wedding, right? What if they ask us then? I asked this question sarcastically, but their answers left me stunned. No. There's a misunderstanding here. They won't attend the wedding or to the family dinner at all. I was like, what? The hell? She continued, I'm not sure how this happened, but I never invited them to the wedding. My parents sent them an invitation. I felt really stupid for talking to her. I yelled out my husband's name, who was sleeping peacefully. I yelled it so loud he ran in and walked out. I screamed, did you know we weren't invited to the wedding? It seems his body was awake, but his mind was still asleep. Whose wedding? Oh, yes, it's their wedding. We are not invited. I mean, why did I say, your sister said she didn't send us the invitation, so how could we assume that we were invited? Let me get my head around the situation. I really don't understand what's going on here. It took her a few minutes and some repetitions to understand what had just happened. I was appalled that we hadn't been invited to the wedding that was being held at our house. My sister-in-law said, well, if it bothers you so much, you can attend and you can probably say that your wife is sick and has to jump. I asked her what her original reason was for justifying our absence. The woman had the audacity to laugh in my face and said, "Oh, you won't believe it. I told them my parents have pushed them away because they're too toxic." I was like, wow, what more can I expect from you? I angrily walked into my room without saying anything. It was useless wasting time talking to her. My husband followed me and assured me that it was still my decision if I wanted to withdraw my consent. At this point, I was too angry to think clearly. I need to calm down to make a rational decision. That's why I sat down to update here, thinking it might help, and it did. I feel so much lighter. But that doesn't mean I'm going to give in to the princess's demands. I don't know what to do now, but I'm definitely not going to leave my house to participate in her tale of lies. No matter what happens, I will update this thread. You can count on me. Update 2. Hey guys, thanks for participating in my posts. Yes, you were all right in saying that the spoiled princess lives in a world of illusions. First of all, let me answer some common questions from the comments. How can my sister-in-law access my house in my absence after I agreed for her to use it for the wedding? I gave her the spare key. The front porch, the living room, the garden, and the pool area are all covered with cameras, so I felt okay sharing the spare key. Second, how is it possible that my sister-in-law's fiancé believed her lies that the house was hers? He never visited. Instead, I'm not sure. She's been dating him for less than a year. 2 weeks before the wedding, she brought him over to my house to give him a tour while I was at work. After writing that update that day, I discussed my thoughts with my husband. Although he was on my side saying it was my decision, I was worried that if I backed out, his sister's wedding would be called off and his parents' reputation would be ruined. I said, "Let's talk to your parents then." We headed over to their house. We told them about my sister-in-law's plan to exclude us from the wedding. Apparently, they already knew and seemed to be okay with it. My husband lost his composure and said, "Did you know she was excluding us from her wedding, and were you okay with it?" My mother-in-law replied in a weak voice, "We thought you were okay too. None of you asked us why I hadn't sent you the invitation." At this point, I questioned if we were wrong to assume that we were invited to the wedding because it was my house. My husband and I looked at each other in shock. My husband yelled at them, "Do you realize there will be no weddings?" She goes back on her decision. How about we tell the truth to her in-laws? My mother-in-law panicked and asked us not to do such a thing. My father-in-law intervened and politely asked me if it would be all right to attend the wedding if my sister-in-law sent us the invitation. Now, I remained silent and didn't reply as I was furious. My father-in-law asked my mother-in-law to call my sister-in-law and ask her to send us the invitation immediately and apologize to us. My mother-in-law hesitated to call her, but my father-in-law looked at her with red eyes. My mother-in-law called out shakily. My father-in-law told her to put the phone on speaker. My sister-in-law picked the call and scolded my mother-in-law for disturbing her during her spa session. My mother-in-law told her that it was urgent and my father-in-law wanted her to invite me and my husband to the wedding. She got angry and said, "No way I am inviting that witch. She thinks she's too smart." My mother-in-law tried to stop her. In the middle of the conversation, she whispered to him, "They are here with us." But the princess was too busy complaining. She said if she meets my in-laws, she's going to outshine me. I want to make her look prettier on my wedding day. Plus, you know how she always talks about different things, jobs, careers, investments and stuff, blah, 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 to grab everyone's attention. I don't want that at my wedding. Everyone's focus should be on me. If she's around, she'll make me look foolish. So no, she's not allowed at my wedding. Then she hung up. I screamed back, "I make you sound stupid because you're such a fool." And I ran out of the house. When my husband got up to leave, my in-laws asked him to calm down and that they would talk to my sister-in-law so she would apologize. Excuse my ass. Meanwhile, my sister-in-law texted me that I should take down our portraits from the hallway and move out of the house after she oversees the preparations tomorrow. She said my fiancé will arrive at the venue with his family at 10 in the morning, so get lost before that. But make sure you drop my parents off there before the wedding planners arrive. I will stay alone. I will stay at my friend's house after the bridal shower. I will head straight to the hall from here and reach the venue like a bride. Of course, Your Highness. I will plan a perfect wedding for you. When we got home, it was late afternoon. I called the locksmith and changed the locks of the house. Later at night, my husband called my father-in-law and said, "You won't allow voicemail in our house, so you better find some other place." He tried calling my sister-in-law, but she was busy getting drunk at her bridal shower. My father-in-law called back, panicking, asking what he should do. My husband suggested if he wanted to save his reputation, he should call his guests and canceled the invitation, giving any suitable reason, because there was no way the wedding was going to happen on this scheduled date and venue. The night was exciting, just imagining the expressions on my sister-in-law's face when the truth came out. At about 6 in the morning on the day the wedding was to start with dinner, my doorbell rang. It was the wedding designer was here to start the preparations for the wedding. I told him this was my house and there would be no wedding. There he got confused and said that my sister-in-law and her fiancé had made the reservation for that day. I told him to call them because my house was no longer available. An hour later, my sister-in-law's fiancé came knocking on my door. I answered and asked if my sister-in-law was home because I wasn't answering her phone. I told him no, that she wasn't here because it's not her house. He said, maybe there was some confusion here. I am her fiancé, and today we are having a wedding in this house. I guess you are her sister-in-law. I saw your pictures in the hallway the other day. I smiled and said, you are right. I am her sister-in-law. But there is more truth that I am going to tell you. Let's start with the most basic. This is my house, and I live here. My sister-in-law and my in-laws live across town in an apartment. By the way, congratulations on your wedding, but we are not going to be here anymore because I changed my mind. I don't know what happened after that. Around 9 in the morning, this princess came knocking on my door. I didn't answer. She called my husband asking what was going on, that I had kicked out the wedding designer. He said our house wasn't available and that she should find another venue for the wedding. She screamed and banged on my door asking us to open it. I opened the window and screamed, if you bang on my door again, you could end up in jail on your wedding day. She insulted us and called us names for ruining her life. She left after neighbors threatened to call the police. I blocked her number, but she bombarded my husband's phone with voicemails, calling him names for not standing up for her sister. I asked her if she was upset. He said he was upset, but she had asked him out. She can't assume everything will just be handed to her on a silver platter. She was ungrateful and took us for granted. She told her fiancé this was his house and planned the wedding here without even asking. On top of that, she shuts us out of the wedding and calls me a witch. What does she expect in return? My in-laws have not taken well to it. They blame me for tarnishing their reputation. This makes me question their value system, because they were clearly okay with their daughter shutting us out of the wedding even though it was being held on my property. As for her wedding, it was called off that day. My sister-in-law and in-laws went to see them to ask them to wait for a week so they could arrange another venue. I heard her fiancé called them liars in front of everyone and said he was calling off the wedding and that he would have to rethink the relationship. God knows what will happen now. I'm glad to be out of this drama. I have a life to live and a career to excel in. God bless her and her lies. Update 3. Well, it's been a couple of days since the wedding was supposed to be due to take place. Of my sister-in-law at my house. And as you may know, it didn't happen here, although it didn't happen anywhere else either, because at the end of the day, the boyfriend decided to cancel everything after seeing the lies of his ex-fiancée. I don't blame him. We're talking about a person who can go so far with lies, so we could expect more lies in the future, if not now. Anyways, the important thing is everyone's reaction after all the plans went to waste. Starting with my sister-in-law, who has been crying since all this happened. Obviously, she blames me for everything, which is ridiculous because it wasn't me who lied to half the world. Her ex stopped by the house the other day and told me this. At the same time, he apologized for everything. Although I told him no, he didn't have anything to worry about because he had nothing to do with it. I even apologized to him since I should have told him about this before. Although, to be honest, it's not like we had a relationship or that we had much contact before. I didn't even have his phone number or know his name to look him up on social media, but I felt bad for him, and I apologized as soon as I got a chance. But my in-laws keep calling my husband, talking bad about me and him, telling him that he should have done something and not just let me dominate him. He is thinking of blocking them if this continues, and he doesn't answer their calls anymore because he is fed up with them. But that's something between him and his parents, so I won't get into that. Update 4. A week has passed since my last update, and I was hoping the previous one would be the last because I don't have any more time to waste with her nonsense. I had done too much for her, but she had to show up at home and make a scene. It was Saturday morning, and I was home having breakfast when she banged on the door. I could tell it was her because the banging was accompanied by hysterical screams. She seemed possessed by the way she was screaming. It was like in those horror movies. She wanted to hit me, according to what she said, because I had ruined her wedding and her relationship for being selfish and a witch. My husband wasn't home because he went to play tennis with his friend. She was screaming at the top of her lungs and banging on the door while I was drinking my coffee. A neighbor heard everything and called the police. Also, he came up to my door to make sure I was okay and told my sister-in-law that the police were on the way. She eventually left, but the funny thing is she ran like she was a thief or something because she doesn't have a car, and she had taken an Uber all the way here, so she didn't have time to call another one before the police arrived. Then I opened it and spoke to my neighbor. When I was done with him, the police arrived, and I explained to them what happened, how she threatened to hit me, and my neighbor is a witness, besides the cameras. The police went to my in-laws' house to look for her. Now it's too late, and my in-laws have called my husband to tell him what I did and to scream some more, but my husband cut the call and blocked them. I know many will be disappointed because we don't know what happened to my sister-in-law since my in-laws were the only ones able to tell us, but we both feel like we've had enough of everyone. If she ends up in jail or not, we don't know, but at least we're done with that family.